Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we got a bit of news to talk about here. We got a lot of career milestones that different guys have hit that we're gonna mention here. So, do you have anywhere in specific you want to start with, or should we just jump right in?
You know what? Before we jump into a little bit of NHL news, we're gonna go to some junior news. But this won't take long. Just kind of to showcase how crazy, specifically the WHL is, because I believe it's the Q. You're not allowed to trade first round picks. But in the WHL, that is most definitely not the case. As every year, like similar to the NHL, there's always buyers and teams going after players, and it happens very often in the WHL. Is again, you've got players kind of from when they're usually around 15, 16 to around getting up to 20. So you have a small window to win, and this year was a massive buyer year for a lot of teams who think they can go all the way this year. As it currently stands in the WHL, there is only 8 teams that currently hold their own first round pick for the 2025 draft, which means 64% of the league's first round picks have now been traded to other teams. So there's a lot of teams going all in this year, and there's a lot of teams that are going through the rebuild phase where they're stocking up on as many picks as they possibly can. So just wanted to highlight that because just goes to show how crazy junior hockey can be, and how again you have a very small window to win sometimes, and when you have that opportunity, teams go just all in by trading away every part of their future for a chance to win one year.
It's funny looking at some of the trades because they'll be for these great players that they know are going to the NHL or at least the AHL next year. So they're trading for a guy for half a season, but they'll trade like 2 roster players and then like 4 first round picks and like some other things. They give a king's ransom in like every big trade they do. So it is really funny whenever a trade like that comes out. But yeah,
Because I mean, in those leagues, like you trade away a first and or 2 firsts and a prospect, and that's kind of what the price was going for some defensemen, some forwards, and like the players that get moved are, you know, like that's the price for some of the best players in the entire league, right?
yeah.
Like there's a couple guys that are like top 5 or top 10 in scoring, and that's what they're getting traded for. Like so, you are giving up a lot, yeah, but in the sense you're looking at, like, well, we just got one of the best players in the entire league now for our playoff run when we're already a good team. So yeah, teams tend to go pretty heavy on their offers to make sure that they can secure the guy that they want to get.
Yeah, since the guys age out, like any team that is good is instantly in win now mode because you're going to lose those guys in a few years. So,
Yeah,
and the teams they're like that aren't that great but have good players, they're willing to trade them for all these picks because we're not good now. We're going to lose them in 1 or 2 seasons, so let's get something out of it.
yeah, exactly.
It's very
Um,
interesting.
but with that, we can move back over to the NHL. You know what? We talk about this guy a lot, pretty much every week. It seems like Connor Hellebuck, continuing to just dominate the league from a goaltender standpoint, recording career win number 300, um, the 41st goalie in NHL history to do so. So Hellebuck continuing to make his mark on the league and probably
Yeah,
on his way to another Vezina trophy,
yeah,
maybe even a Hart trophy.
unless he falls off, I don't think somebody's gonna have to really come out of nowhere if they want to beat him at this point. Uh,
Hmm.
he's so good. The Jets are so good defensively. Like it just doesn't look like it's in the cards for anybody else to really stand up to him. Gustafson
Yeah,
did for a bit, but his play has fallen off a little bit. He missed a couple games due to injury, so now he doesn't have the games played to back it up either. It's pretty tough to make a case for really anybody else at the moment, and
yeah.
I I would love to see him get some heart votes, but I really don't think he's going to be in the running. Just unfortunately, just to be a goalie, going for the Hart Trophy, you just have to have crazy numbers. Like I feel like it has to be
Yeah.
like a 935 or something at minimum. And even then, like it kind of depends what other guys do. If you have multiple guys hit 130 some points, a guy hitting 60 goals,
Yeah.
a defenseman hitting 95, 100 points. It's just in this day and age that's what makes the headlines, right? So it'll be pretty tough, but you know, any one team, you take a single player off of it, uh, the Jets have to be one of the most impacted by losing Hellebuck.
I would agree. Yeah, I think top 5
I think
probably.
top five's very fair. Yeah,
Yeah, he's been terrific all year. Yeah, in terms like Vezina, the very clear favorite. I still think he is a dark horse for the Hart. I don't know if they're ever in again going to give it to a goalie, really. Um, but like the numbers he's put up this year is just incredible, and the records we keep seeing him get to, and the milestones. It's just impressive what he's doing, and man, Winnipeg's got to be just so pumped that they're able to lock him in when kind of all signs were pointing to looking like they were going to have to move him.
I know a lot of people were saying that, and I mean, maybe it's just because I was kind of higher on Hellebuck than most people for the last several years at this point. Um, I don't actually know how much the average like NHL fan keeps up on goaltending stats and stuff, but me being a past goalie and also having Andrei Vasilevsky on my team definitely helps. I looked at goaltending stats quite a bit, so I've definitely gotten used to seeing Hellebuck be right at the top of the league in shots saved, in wins, in generally save percentage most years. So I've always been high on him. So when people said they're going to move him, I was like, low key, like it's pretty comparable to Shesterkin with the Rangers. Like if this team is pretty good, but like if they lose this goalie, it's like instantly they are not a good team anymore.
It
Like
wasn't the sense of like the Winnipeg necessarily wanted to. It was just there was a lot of uncertainty if Hellebuck was willing to stay, right? Because that's kind of around the time when like players weren't wanting to go to Winnipeg, players were reportedly wanting out. Like it was the time when
he
it was
was
like
ever
we
a
thought
guy though, right? Like it was like Wheeler and
he
Scheifele
never
were
he
two
never
guys
came
that
out and said like he wanted to get traded, but it sounded like contract talks weren't going well, and the Jets just didn't get that sense that like Hellebuck was excited about signing with
okay.
the team and staying, and then all of a sudden, whatever it was, right before training camp or the season or preseason or whatever, the previous year, him and Scheifele both on the same day
Yeah, that
locked in.
you know what? I must have just missed the hype around potentially him moving on because I do very much remember Scheifele. I thought Scheifele was gone. I thought he was moving on, and I thought Hellebuck was staying. So when they both signed on that same day, I already thought like, yeah, of course they're keeping Hellebuck, but I was very surprised that Scheifele came back, and for 7 years. Well, probably 8 when they signed it at that.
I think it was only 7-year deals for the two of them. I don't even think they got that 8th year.
They both got 7 years left now, so I guess it depends when they signed him.
This is the first year of the extensions. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
yeah, because before the like right before the beginning of the previous season, they both signed those. They were extensions.
yeah, both matching contracts too. 8.5 mil for the 7 years, both full no moves. At least right
Yeah,
now, they're full
those are
no
looking
moves.
like good deals early on right now.
Yeah, I mean 8.5 mil for a goalie that we're talking about, locking the Vesna down in January, potentially winning the Hart. Like
Yeah,
that's
back to
pretty
back
good value.
seasons really like the consensus kind of Hellebuck had the Vezina lockdown around this time last year as well.
Last year was definitely less locked down than this year. I feel
It
like
yeah, it was a lot closer, but like he was still
he was still the front
the
runner for sure.
favorite. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
just
But this year he is
Thatcher
pretty clear.
Demko last year at this point was like he was still knocking on the door pretty good, kind of like Gustafson was maybe a month ago. But
Yeah, but it was still
yes,
kind of like basically it was like Demko was doing good. All he
it's
had to do was kind of
yeah,
keep doing what he was doing. Is basically you kind of had to hope for Hellebuck to fall off at some point in the
yeah,
season, and
Hellebucks to
he really
lose.
didn't. Yeah, but we can move
Uh,
on from Hellebuck and his success.
the Boston Bruins are on a 6-game losing streak. We don't have that in the Discord. I just saw it again on the score sheet, and I just figured it was important to bring up because it's the Bruins
Yeah.
on a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, Matt, they have the worst future outlook, I think, out of any team at this point now. You've obviously got, some good players in the mix still, and guys like Marchand, but unfortunately he's kind of aging out. You've got Pasternak, you've got McAvoy, you've got Swayman, but you don't really have any exciting prospects coming up. You were the only team out of all 32 that didn't have a single prospect playing in the World Juniors. So if you're a Boston fan, well, that sucks for you, I guess. And the team's already trending downward. Like they just have such a bad future, and their window to win the cup was right there, and unfortunately Florida got in the way. St. Louis got in the way at one point. Chicago, like the window's been open for such a long time, and they did their best to keep it open as long as they could, but
It's hard to keep a window open that much when all of a sudden you lose a perennial, not Selke nominee, Selke winner in Patrice Bergeron. Like it's losing that, like the fact that he retired and then they make the playoffs the next year is insane on its own.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
most teams losing their number one center, they eat shit the next season. So yeah.
Like the Bruins could still squeeze in the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take them serious as a contender to actually win the cup. I'm not going to take them serious as a contender next year or the year after that. Like,
depending on the play of Swayman, I might. If he really turns
no.
it, because they're doing this right now and he's at like an 899 or something.
But I think that's a product of multiple things. I think it's a product of, first of all, the Bruins aren't as good defensively as they were. And I mean, this isn't a great look for Swayman, his kind of first season as being the guy in Boston, not running in a tandem with Allmark. He hasn't been able to, take the ball and run with it. So
yeah, that's fair. And
it kind of sucks for him because it's, I'd be curious to see how well he would do as a starter, being, I guess, the starter, if the Bruins were, the team of last year or the year before. But, unfortunately, the team in front of him is kind of, taken a couple steps back, and so it's kind of hard to pinpoint if it's on Swayman a lot or is it a lot of the team in front of him. It's kind of hard to get a gauge, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell with this team, like, because they've been so good and then fallen off so hard, and they've had a couple major moves. I definitely think the biggest one is Jim Montgomery. They let go of a really, really good head coach, and they bring in this new guy, and he started to turn around a tiny bit in what's his name, Joe Sacco, and then now they're on.
It was just a panic move they made.
It really was, and I get it because they're like, everyone's freaking out. We're not usually losing this much, but like, if you just stay the course, you're not going to get better. You're not going to get better firing Jim Montgomery. Like, there's such a short list of coaches that will keep you at the same level as Jim Montgomery, let alone improve your team. So,
yeah,
that I think we're really starting to see how that was rough. I think Brad Marchand actually had some quotes the other day that were was kind of a little slightly inflammatory on him as well. I'd have to look it up here, but the locker room has always been a huge selling point for guys in Boston. Everyone wanted to be a part of that locker room when they got that just leadership core. They got the Marchand, they got Chara, they got Bergeron, Krejci, like all these guys that were just so good, so lauded after. Everyone wanted to be in that locker room. They were so good at just hating the teams they play against and being a unit. And that's not the case anymore. There's definitely cracks in that locker room at this point.
Yeah, guys wanted to go there because they had a lot they could learn from a lot of the guys they had there, and At this point now, really, when looking at Boston, all I can think of is that Pasternak trade is going to be crazy in 2 to 3 years.
I don't know. The Bruins are not a team that I think will stand for. It doesn't seem like a team where the front office, the fan base, the player, it doesn't seem like anybody with anything to do with Boston sports will tolerate a rebuild. And they're just
You have to.
But I mean, you can just not.
Pasternak's not going to
They'll just
waste
throw it at the wall.
the prime of his career and just be like, yeah, I'm just fine missing the playoffs every year. Because, like, once Marchand's done, like, fuck, there goes another big piece because he's retiring with the Bruins. Again, they have no prospects coming up. They're not a good team when it comes to drafting.
No, but
and you're not going to be able to convince any big free agents to come there and be like, hey, come here and hope we turn it around. As we're a bubbling team that's on the constant decline. Like, they're not getting any younger, and they don't have that injection of youth coming up into the system. Like, if their mindset is, we're not going to tolerate a rebuild, we're just going to keep making trades, signing free agents, and giving up assets to win now. Eventually, some of the players there, when they start to get into their probably early 30s, and they're eventually going to be like, we're done. Like, we can't waste our whole career here watching this team try and get the good old days back when those days are gone, unfortunately.
I'm looking at so many of their top players. They all have term, Brad Marchand does not, and he's 36 at this point. But, Elias Lindholm has 7 years, Pasternak 7 years, McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm, Nikita Zadorov, all 6 years. I don't know how big of a part of their future Mark Kastelik is, but they've now got him for 4 years. After signing a 3-year
you can
extension.
easily the Lindholm probably is, you can't move, like, you're stuck with that deal. I think at least for now, unless he magically turns it around, you're kind of stuck with that one.
He's also got a full no move, so he decides where he goes if the other team even says yes.
Yeah, but like you can move a Pasternak, you can move a McAvoy regardless of term. Like, because of how good of a player they are, if you make them available, you can easily move on from them.
I just don't. I don't know, until this team's bottom feeding for like a bit, like a Patrick Kane scenario. I don't think they're gonna want to leave,
but I think we're gonna start to see that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I imagine, like, at the next few free agencies, I would not be surprised if one of like the top 3 free agents each year goes to Boston. If you're a guy who can dish the puck with any type of high level ability, like, you're thinking, I can make some cash working with Pasternak on the power play on that first line. Like, you do that if you sign a short-term deal, whether it's short or long, you put up a couple really good seasons with them. Maybe you say, you know what, Pasternak's as good as it gets, and you re-sign. Like, I don't really have any specific players in mind. Team Chaos would cheer for Mitch Marner dishing the puck to Pasternak, but I've spent so long cheering against this team, and they just always get the right guy to come in, and they just always turn it around. And maybe it can't go forever, but
it can't. We've seen it with numerous teams that are going through rebuilds now. Like, eventually,
but there are teams that just don't rebuild, right?
But like what teams?
Well, I mean, hell, even Tampa, like, at what point do you say this team has staved off a rebuild? Because Tampa's been relevant since 2013 now.
Yeah, but they went through the rebuild when they were getting guys like Stamkos first overall. They were getting Hedman second overall. Like, that was their rebuild.
Yeah, but I mean, so how long has this core been going? Like, because we've been without a rebuild then for 15. We drafted them 16 and 17.
Boston's saving grace is the fact that they lucked out and
got Pasternak at 25.
Got Pasternak, what was it? Yeah, in 2014. And then they got McAvoy, I think it was like 14th overall in 2016 maybe. And then he turned out to be like a franchise defenseman. But without those two, they're already in their rebuild phase because all those older
Yeah.
guys that they had are now gone.
No, absolutely. I'm just thinking like, like you could definitely say lucked into him. I doubt they picked Pasternak going, we're going to sign this guy to an 8-year, $11.25 million contract eventually. They probably didn't think he was going to put up 60 goals and stuff, but, you know, y- there's it's not completely random. They do pick the guys and, you know, it, you don't, those guys are living proof. You don't have to have those high end picks. You don't have to tank to the bottom to get those players. It makes it way easier and way more reliable. But
No, but ever since then, their drafting has been horrendous.
true,
Like,
but
and again, it still stands to my point though. If they even if you didn't get Pasternak 25th over, if you went with any other player, you're probably in a rebuild right now. But because you have that franchise player in Pasternak that came up and was kind of able to be like the passing of the torch from guys like Bergeron, Chara, Krejci, they gave them that sense of hope that okay, we can still kind of keep pushing along with him. But eventually, you're going to run into a point where you can't go that much further because they really don't have anything coming up. And
I
even
get,
if they somehow get a slam dunk or a grand slam in 2025 in the draft, that's still 3 years down the line before you're starting to get that
yeah,
value from there. So
it's just not a team with a bleak enough future that I'm comfortable saying they will be in a rebuild. Like
I'm
all
not saying
because
they're going to necessarily be in a rebuild, but I'm saying there's no way I'm taking them serious as a contender, even if you have
yeah,
Pasternak,
and that's fair.
McAvoy, Swayman. I'm
Yeah, and
not
that's fair.
ever being like Bruins are, in my opinion, realistically, Boston has the same chance of winning the Stanley Cup as the Columbus Blue Jackets this year,
You know what? And that's not
which
the
is
sharp it used
honestly
to be.
zero for both. I
No,
think Columbus is still a great team. Don't get me wrong, but both teams have a 0% chance of winning.
I definitely don't put either of them at 0%. I'm not putting money on them. I'm absolutely not putting money on them. But uh, so this Blue Jackets team is pretty special this year, and
They are doing very good, but
the magic usually runs out at some point. But every once in a while, we get a St. Louis Blues in 2019 that go on this run. I know you can't compare every. That was 1 year, but like if there was a team to catch Magic, if there was ever a team to catch Magic, like this team that everyone was expecting to be picking in the top 5 overall in the draft again this year, they've tried to come out of the rebuild, they just can't, and then they lose their best offensive player through an absolute tragic scenario in Johnny Gaudreau in the offseason, and then all of a sudden they're doing well this year. Like a lot of things are lining up.
Don't get me wrong. I would love
team.
a Columbus Blue Jackets run, but I just can't see them coming out of the East with some of the top heavy teams in there. Like you could squeeze into the playoffs maybe, but to win 3 rounds to get to the Stanley Cup final and then knock off a Vegas or an Edmonton or a really those two for me. Yeah, it's just.
I'm never counting
I would love
the
it.
vibes.
I would love it.
Pick, and I tell you what, if they do make the playoffs, I don't just want to see Norris talks. I want to see Hart Trophy talks for Zach Werenski, because that guy is on fire in Columbus. He's already up to 13 goals on the season, 48 points. He's one of, I believe, 2 defensemen in the league that are leading their team in scoring. Like
Werenski would be incredible, but the only problem is I still think there's a better case for Quinn Hughes.
I don't disagree. I'm saying
which is the only knock I can make on Werenski for a hard.
That's fair.
Talk. It's literally the only knock. Like I would pick, like there's not many guys I'd pick for the Hart over, honestly Quinn Hughes or Werenski. Like, I mean McKinnon's obviously going to be in the conversation because of what he's doing. Draisaitl.
I was going to say McKinnon, Draisaitl, I think are the
odds-on
betting favorites right now.
Sneak into that conversation. I've heard
he probably should. I think he's fourth in the league in scoring without Matthews.
Exactly, which is a big part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. Maybe Marner should be getting more talk for it because, some of the odds-on favorites right now are McKinnon and Draisaitl, and obviously they are having incredible seasons, but, yeah, the Hart Trophy is who is the single most valuable guy to their team. Well, Makar and Rantanen are really helping McKinnon over there. Obviously, Draisaitl putting up ton of points playing with McDavid, whether that's on the power play or sometimes 5v5. But Marner, he's kind of specifically doing it without Matthews for a lot of this season. So,
Yeah.
It's a decent case to be made, but yeah, honestly, I do still think at this point it's probably Quinn Hughes. I think Quinn Hughes is probably playing at a slightly higher level than Werenski. But if you
And again, that's not even a knock on Werenski. Like Quinn Hughes is
yeah.
the second best defenseman in the league.
Yeah, we're talking about the Hart Trophy, not even the Norris right now.
Yeah.
But for the team that would fall off the most without a single player, even though Hughes is doing better, I kind of think Columbus suffers a lot more if they lose Werenski.
In my opinion, Winnipeg still suffers the most with Hellebuyck, though. Don't get me wrong, like Columbus definitely does suffer without Werenski, but
I think those Winnipeg are comparable.
Winnipeg would be I think in a lot of trouble without Hellebuyck.
I'm trying to think of which is more of a depressing thought. The Winnipeg Jets right now, but their starter is Eric Comrie, or the Columbus Blue Jackets, but Dante Fabro is their number one defenseman.
I'm going with Winnipeg.
Like those are both pretty bleak.
Solely because Dante Fabro has looked pretty good since joining the Blue Jackets. Ivan Provorov has found his role in the league, and that's being a phenomenal second pair defenseman. And the biggest thing is honestly the fact that Denton Mateychuk has finally come into the league, has made his debut, and has been an absolute beast for the Blue Jackets.
What every franchise mode player has known for years.
Yeah. We all kind of just collectively waiting for like, all right, when is he finally going to get the call up? Are we going to run into another David Juracek situation, right? And thankfully, they waited the right amount of time. There's nothing wrong with calling a guy at midseason once he kind of gets a little bit of AHL time in there, and he's just been terrific for them since coming up. And to now know that you've got Werenski, who has established himself as a top 10 defenseman in the league, and you've got a phenomenal young prospect in Mateychuk, like that's
real nice.
And that's your two guys that you now build around for sure.
Yeah. And that top line of Dmitry Voronkov, Kirill Marchenko, centered by Sean Monahan, has been unreal. Nobody would have had them as one of the top lines in the league, but in the first 42 games of the year, they legitimately have been. And unfortunately, Sean Monahan went down the other day with an injury. I'm not sure how bad it is yet. But he's currently out of the lineup. I don't even have a build-up for this. I'm just noticing it looking at daily faceoff. But second line center for them, Luca Del Bel Baluz. That doesn't read like a real name, but I'll take their word for it.
Yeah, I think you know what? That name actually sounds familiar. Did he score the other night? I think he did. He did. He has one game played this season. 1 goal, 1 assist for 2 points. He's played 2 career games, 2 goals and an assist. So,
I mean that not for nothing. I mean he played the 1 game when they brought him up, and they threw him onto the second line with JVR and Kent Johnson.
Yeah, put up 2 points. So something to be said with that.
Yeah.
But we should move on from the tragic Boston Bruins and the rising Columbus Blue Jackets. Trevor Lewis, longtime veteran, but won a Stanley Cup with the LA Kings. He went to Winnipeg for a bit, Calgary, now back with the LA Kings. Played in his 1,000th career game.
Yeah, and it was funny because that game, I'm pretty sure that was the game against Tampa when they were doing their West Coast road trip there, and the guys running the broadcast, not like the announcers, like the people behind the scenes, I don't know if they were confused or just don't know how to articulate things, but it was like every time they talk about Trevor Lewis, because they talked about him a few times throughout the game in his 1,000th career game, obviously, they'd show him
Yeah.
on the bench, right? And then there
Yeah.
was several other times where they would do these deep dives into other characters. They would bring up, uh, they would bring up Kopitar's scoring over the years, and they would bring up this guy's stats and other guys' stats, and they would be on the screen and show the last few seasons and like their goal scoring this year. They would always still just show Trevor Lewis on the bench. And after a certain while, I was like just laughing. I was like, they just keep showing this dude, and like at a certain point, they're gonna show him like picking his nose or like something stupid. Like this guy's had the camera on him for like 20 minutes this game.
Yeah.
So there's no real news there. I just really thought that was funny. They kept showing him even when it wasn't him they were talking about.
Just want to
But
keep going back to him. Yeah.
he had a great
Another.
game as well.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I don't doubt it. He's made a career out of just being a great, bottom sixer and penalty killer, and just
Yeah. Huge back
you
check.
just he just plays hard and does exactly what you want out of a bottom six guy, and that's exactly why. It's not very often you see like bottom six guys get to 1,000 games played, and so this just even further shows like just how he's one of the best at what he's meant to do. He's one of the best. I don't want to call him a system player because he's not really a system player in the sense, but like he's just great at what he does, and
He's a
that's just being a
journeyman.
bottom sixer that has lots of playoff experience, is just a feisty, great kind of two-way guy you want down there in the bottom six. And I think there's a lot of guys on the LA Kings that have learned a lot from having a guy like Trevor Lewis around.
Yeah, like you said, it's really rare. Like it's always weird when I hear some of these names come up, and I really don't think of them as that high level player, but they've always had a job in the NHL, and they'll hit high amounts of games, and it's like, damn, good for him. Like, I know recently they were talking about it on the Ducks broadcast. Radko Gudas is currently 11 games away from playing 800 career games, and I heard that, and I was just like, god damn, like. He's just been a physical shutdown defenseman, go beat the crap out of people guy, and he's gonna hit 800 career games. Like that's pretty impressive, especially in this age that's getting a bit faster and more skilled. So good on Radko as well. He's getting up there, and I'm sure there's plenty of other guys we're not thinking of around the league that are in a similar boat.
Yeah, when they get to 1,000, we'll talk about him. Speaking of Radko Gudas, though, we previously talked the other week about his former teammate, Cam Fowler, who was traded to the St. Louis Blues. Was the first player in NHL history to play their 1,000th game in an outdoor game, which took place on December 31st in Chicago, where Cam Fowler had a big game. 2 goals, 1 assist, I believe.
Yeah, huge game.
And so,
he scored
once they're back in,
didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah,
that was
first goal of the game.
That was king shit.
And then so normally, once teams get back home and they're back in their own barn is kind of when they do their big 1,000th game, presentation with the silver stick and everything. Well, a couple days later, they played Ottawa in St. Louis. Vibes just weren't right for it too soon. Let's wait a little bit. Fast forward 6 days later to January 9th. Guess who's in town? None other than the Anaheim Ducks.
They waited for the Ducks. That's cool.
The Anaheim Ducks invited Cam Fowler to their hotel, where they presented him with a Rolex and a little Cars toy watch to his son. And then the Ducks were in the building for Cam Fowler's silver stick ceremony, and they were all able to. I think it was Vetrano, Strome, and Gudas went up there and took a photo with Cam Fowler and his family. So it's kind of nice for Fowler that, even though he's not a member of the Ducks, he could still kind of celebrate that milestone with his boys that he played with for so long in Anaheim. So
he had like 992 games played in Anaheim or something before getting traded. Like vast majority of it was played with the Ducks. So it's nice to see that they're doing that, and it's not just we traded you. It's whatever, we'll have fun. Trying to stick St. Louis with the bill for a Rolex, be like, no, go get him something nice for his 1,000th.
Yeah, it was just kind of fun how it worked out that way. That Anaheim ended up being in the building in St. Louis not long after, so they were able to set up that ceremony around when the Ducks were there. Was cool moment. Cool moment.
That's pretty good. Good on them. We got a couple other random bits here that we can talk about. A few more milestones. Brayden Point scored his 600th career point the other night. Big, I guess not game winner. It was the last goal of the game on the power play, but yeah, I mean, solid goal. And like, I was kind of surprised because they didn't even mention it during the game when he scored. It was kind of afterwards. They were doing a bit of a breakdown post game, and they mentioned it, and I was like, fuck. It's a pretty good number, and he's gonna keep climbing it.
Quickly emerging as one of the best kind of crease crashers in the league in terms of being a guy who's just always around the net, scoring his goals pretty much from anywhere within 5 feet of the net. He's really kind of made that his area over the last couple years, and it's hard to find anyone better than him in terms of just being anywhere within a 5-foot radius of the net.
He's one of the top guys.
He scores all his goals there this year, basically.
He really does. He's pretty good at tipping the puck, but like he's not one of those guys like Pavelski where that's his bread and butter. Like he's just so good at corralling passes from any angle, turning and firing them at the net. Like he just does it so well, and obviously Kucherov feeding them to him definitely helps there.
Definitely helps, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, he's been incredible in that spot, which is why it's so weird because sometimes on the power play they have to move him to Stamkos' old spot to have a right-handed threat there. So
yeah,
there's a lot of guys that key on to him now. He was open in the slot for years there, and a lot of guys are covering him. They've got 2 guys on him now, and it's a lot tougher to get him on the power play, but he's still doing it.
Yeah, it's a little bit tougher without the guy kind of cheating over to keep an eye on Stamkos. Now they know that Point's kind of the shooter, so they definitely are locking in on him more.
Yeah, letting Hedman shoot the puck a lot more, though. Dude, there's a lot more times this year where he's just saying, fuck it. He just releases the hammer of Thor from the blue line, and everyone ducks for cover. But to go to talking from a prolific goal scorer to an even more prolific point scorer, Sidney Crosby passed Joe Sakic and is now 9th all-time in career points. Crosby is currently now at 1,643 points. Unreal. So he just passed Joe Sakic.
Incredible. And
his next target is 80 points away. So probably not hitting it this season. But that's teammate Mario Lemieux, notorious with the Penguins as well. I think he definitely passes him next year. I don't see Crosby falling off that really that soon, honestly. So yeah, I mean,
by next year, he'll probably move up into number 8 all time, I think.
Yeah, and there's quite a rift between Sakic and Lemieux there that Crosby's in the middle of. But after he hits Lemieux, there's it's not too much until the next guy after that. Like they start coming in a little bit sooner. So
yeah, you can start kind of rattling some of them. It was kind of like with Ovi, right? He was kind of climbing the ranks and, was kind of slowly passing some guys here and there. And then all of a sudden there was a stretch where he just ran through a couple of guys in the span of a couple months. Like it. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's Jágr and nobody until Gretzky. So he's got 80 points till he gets to Lemieux. But after that, it's only another, looks like 20 some points to Yzerman, 20 some from there to Marcel Dion, another 20 to 30 to Ron Francis, which is still a decent number, but that means in another, say 200 points, he's 5th all time in scoring. Like I legitimately think if he keeps playing, I think if he plays and doesn't stop till he falls off till around, let's say, a 50-point guy or something, I legitimately think he can still make it to top 5 for sure.
I think it's possible. I think he's right in that range too. Yeah.
I think that's relatively likely where he ends up, around at least top 5. I think Honestly, I think the odds are almost in his favor, though, to hit top 3.
What does he need to get to top 3?
So he's 1643. Mark Messier is third all time with 1887. So that's 200. What is that? 244 points.
That's you know what, for Crosby, that's very possible.
Yeah,
if as long as he just keeps playing, like, yeah,
that'll put him third all time to pass 1887. Which, knowing him, he'll probably stop at 1887. But after that, it's like 40 more points. There's Yager, and if he really wants to go for Gretzky, he's going to be here a while. But
yes, but nobody's chasing down Gretz.
I would love. I mean, it's still a monstrous hill to climb. It's another 357 points, but I would love to see Crosby hit 2,000 if he can do it. If he's got it in the tank, like,
might have to be traded out of Pittsburgh to do so, but
I think he would throw his body and his heart at the wall and say, "Nope, I'm going to do it with Pittsburgh, and I don't care who I'm playing with. We're going to make it happen." Like, I could see it. Like, Crosby has the will to do whatever the hell he wants. Maybe not will his team.
Yeah, but father time catches up to all of us at some point.
At some point, but if you'll ask a fourth,
in the sense that, like, you can't take when Crosby's 40, you can't take like a Connor Sheary and a Brian Rust and they're all going to put up 60 plus points.
No,
most likely. Well, for Crosby probably does, but the Penguin, if he is planning to get to 2,000 or chase that with the Penguins, Dewis is going to have to do a real good job of just being like, all right,
yeah,
we're postponing the rebuild and we're just going all in to basically kind of the route Washington went with. Although I don't think Dubas is capable of pulling off anything close to what they're doing in Washington, but if that's what Crosby wants to go to, I think you got to try.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Like, them just keep going and keep trying to be as relevant as he can. Bring in all the free agents you can to help him out. And yeah, really speaks to how bad Connor Sheary's been for the Lightning that you included him in the lineup for Pittsburgh, even though he's been here for 2 years.
He's one of those guys that Crosby kind of made.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just naming guys on Pittsburgh, and I was like, that's
no.
He's been here.
No, Sheary was in that boat kind of the same time of him. Gensel is coming up and Rust at, like, it was just like you put him with Crosby and
see what happens.
Thankfully, Gensel and Rust have kind of shown they can do it on their own. But Connor Sheary has, ever since he's been away from Pittsburgh, has immensely.
I was excited for that contract, man. Dude,
I feel like it's kind of unfair to Sheary though, right? Because, like, he's the player that he is, and everybody just kind of had unreal expectations for him because he played with Crosby.
I mean, sure, but, like, we would have been fine with him being an NHL player, and he's just not. At least not in Tampa. Like, he's not even NHL level. Like, he hasn't played for us in 30
I think he
games.
can be. I just don't think on Tampa, because Tampa's not a. Tampa Bay's a,
we're not deep on the forward core either.
No, anymore. But more than anything, Tampa's a, like, unless you're playing with Cirelli, it's like go out there and score goals. Basically, it's like kind of more of an offensively built team. Whereas I think Sheary I think that just doesn't vibe with him. I just don't think that fits his.
Or defensive in the
really
bottom
his
six.
Skill level, like,
because we really get no scoring from the bottom six, which is so he could have just been good defensively there. He's one of those guys that just kind of, he wasn't like bad. He didn't like make offensive blunder or defensive blunders or anything. He just goes out there and does cardio for 10 minutes a night. And that's pretty much it, which I suppose isn't inherently horrendous, right? It's almost better to not notice your fourth liners than to be noticing them making lapses, right? But, he just ended the season last year, I think, with it was like 4 points. And I think 3 of them came in a single game where he ended up on the top line for some reason.
Yeah, I haven't really caught enough of Shearer to really,
know. He also had a hand injury, so you know what? I've never broken my hand. I don't know how bad that is. So you know what? Maybe that probably makes it pretty
definitely
difficult.
makes it a bit tougher, yeah.
But yeah, Crosby, congrats on moving up in the top 10. He's now top 9. Pittsburgh legend Mario Lemieux is up next, and yeah, we'll see if he can get there. We'll also see if he can catch him in goals. 690 goals for Lemieux, 604 for Crosby. He still scores a decent amount of goals.
Yeah, that he does. He does it all, and yeah, I just hope we get to keep seeing him climb the rankings. It's just incredible to watch. Crosby and Ovechkin. We kind of saw them in their prime battling out, but still seeing them later on in their careers now, and they're still setting these records, these milestones. Like they're still, when they're on their game, they're still some of the best in the league at their ages, which is just always fun to watch.
Yeah, it's truly remarkable, and it's crazy how soon we're going to be seeing this with McDavid. Like,
yeah,
fucking hell, man. He's 27. Good God. Dude's already past 350 goals, 1,000 points.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. He turns 28 in 3 days, but like, okay, fine. So he's 28 and past 1,000 points. Like, that's ludicrous.
When his career's all said and done, McDavid will be
probably
the one behind Gretzky. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's going to have to be a crazy fall off, honestly. Like, at that point, it's not even skill fall off. It's just health is the only thing that's exactly him from getting there. So,
last bit of news before we get into talking a little bit about some new outdoor games that have been announced. The Ottawa Senators, they made a move. They signed, gave a contract extension to the empty net legend Ridley Gregg. 4-year contract extension, 3.25 AAV. I don't love the contract. I don't hate it. It's nice to see Ottawa's finally willing to actually spend money again and keep guys around. Yeah, that's really all I can kind of say.
I don't mind this contract at all.
I don't love the AAV though.
3.25. It's not super cheap, but it's not a lot of money, and the cap's only going to go up the next few years. And
but I don't like that mindset of being like, oh, the cap's going up, so it's like 3.25 AV for. I like Ridley Gregg. Don't get me wrong, but for a guy that he is, what is he? He's 22, so there is still time for him to. It's kind of one of those where you sign it and it could look like a steal and it could look like a bad deal. I just think for like a contract like that, just haven't seen enough. Like his career high was last year, 26 points in 72 games. He's got 12 points in 37 this year.
So he's probably on pace for around the same 26-ish points, pretty much the same goals as well, 13.
Yeah, he ended last year 13 and 13. He's 6 and 6 this year, about the halfway mark. So yeah, kind of on pace for basically last season. Yeah,
but he also plays a relatively not dirty, I guess heavy game. Like he's not a huge hitter or anything, but he gets in there and mixes it up.
He'll mix it up if need be. Yeah,
and that's something that honestly Ottawa needs, guys who just give a shit. And we'll get in there and do that. So I appreciate.
Yeah, I just look at it like you could have given him a 2x2, and he probably would have been pumped to get that.
I guess, but this gives them a guy that it's not huge numbers on their books, and they have him for 5 years now. They have him for 5 years, and somehow he's an RFA at the end of those 5. So they really have a guy that locked in, that not too much money, that can help be a mainstay in the middle 6 somewhere. I don't think he's ever making the top line. I don't think
third line probably. Maybe potential second line, but I feel like anytime you can try to save a little bit of money.
It's not a bargain. It's not a bargain.
Yeah, it's not an albatross contract either. More than anything, I'm just happy to see that Ottawa's actually willing to, again, pay their players and spend money again, and not just ship players out the moment that they need a new contract. So that's the biggest win here. The fact that Ottawa is committed to putting a good product on the ice once again, basically.
Yeah.
Or trying to.
Yeah.
Trying
Yeah.
to is
Fair.
the key word there. Um, Last up before we got something new and fun here to do. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the 2026 Winter Classic and a 2026 Stadium Series games that have been announced?
Yeah, so we finally got it. I think we did talk briefly about the rumors of it last episode potentially, but the Panthers and the Lightning both get outdoor games in next season in early 2026. The Panthers will be hosting the Rangers and the Lightning will be hosting the Bruins. Um I'm excited for these, and I also really expected it to be Lightning versus Leafs. I thought they would bring the Leafs down, but I'm totally okay playing the Bruins there as well. Uh, Panthers Rangers, that sounded like a huge matchup last year. With the way the Rangers have fallen off this year, that's a little bit less enticing. But I imagine they'll get back somewhere up in the playoff hunt at that level of a team sometime soon. But
See,
that's
for me,
that's fun.
I would have rather watched Florida versus Boston and then watched Tampa versus the Rangers. In my opinion, I think I would have enjoyed those Like, don't get me wrong, I think Lightning
Yeah,
versus Bruins is still going to be great, but I feel like you've kind of, and especially the one that's it's going to be your big marketing one as like the Winter Classic, the Panthers Rangers. Eh, like a way to congrats Florida, like you got one, cool, but I don't really give a shit about it. Now, if it was Florida Boston, or even you just made the Winter Classic, Tampa and Boston, I'd be on board. Like any other option you could have gone with these four teams, I would have been okay with. I just don't care for Florida versus Rangers for your big Winter Classic. It doesn't move me, doesn't excite me. I'm
I
excited for the the Tampa Boston one, which I think is like a month later. I think it's like beginning of February.
it's February 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what that'd be like, kind of right around the. Oh yeah, because no, yeah, they are doing the All Star game next year along with the Olympics. So All Star game at some point around that time, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and we'll
yeah,
probably
I
get
just
some
don't care
sick
for.
jerseys as well.
Yeah,
Assuming Fanatics decides to do any type of special jersey.
no, yeah, they will for they always do for the outdoor games.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
yeah,
God.
we just
Because
saw Chicago and St. Louis get some
oh,
for
that's right,
the
they did. That's
the
right.
Winter Classic. So yeah, these four teams will uh, be getting them.
Thank
Hopefully,
God.
the Rangers aren't complete dog shit next year because I don't. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
already not excited for Florida versus the Rangers, and
Honestly,
if
I'm
it's looking like
excited
it's going to
for it.
be a blowout, even worse.
Like I get it. The Rangers keep losing. I really think this is going to be a blip in the radar. Even if they lose out the rest of this season, I think they're coming back next year and they're going to be at worst a wild card team. They just
But
have
it-
too
but
much
it
talent on that roster, man.
it, it doesn't move me. I'd rather watch a rivalry game of teams that at least don't like each other than just be
And
like,
well, I
"Hey,
don't think
we're
they
two
love each
teams that
other,
are
but
are good." Well, they don't really have a
like
rivalry or anything. Like if you
I
did
don't know how many
Boston,
times
if
they've
you
played each
did
other in the
fuck,
playoffs,
even
but
if you just said fuck doing two, let's just do Florida versus Tampa. That would be
on
electric.
honestly, like that, it sucks because they want each one to host one, but realistically, that definitely gets the best game. Those teams hate each other. The Lightning and Panthers, it's a playoff game every time. We legitimately like have a battle of Florida now. Um, honestly though, Panthers versus Vegas, rematch from the finals. You know they would love to put Vegas in something like this. I'm surprised they didn't go for it.
See, I'd rather
Uh,
if they're gonna do Vegas, like I don't know why we haven't. Like, I'm still waiting for the NHL to be like, let's do one in Minnesota, let's do one in Colorado. Like, I think those are two great. Um, I just feel like those would be some of the
why
best.
why are you
Like,
not marketing the Avalanche? Like, what about their team says don't market this?
yeah, and especially
Like,
with Minnesota, them coming up, like I think that's a great place to like. I think I get the idea. Yeah, you wanted to have Florida and Tampa like both have one. I would have much rather been like, hey, our big Winter Classic. That's the only. I don't know if it will be the only game on that day because they kind of fucked it up this year. But have Florida and Tampa, and then just if you want to do another stadium series, do another stadium series somewhere else. Like do one in Utah if you want to. Do one in Colorado, do one in Minnesota, anywhere.
Dude, could you
And I think
imagine
that would have been better.
could you imagine like an actual stadium series, like a 2-game series? Tampa hosts an outdoor game against the Panthers, and then the Panthers host Tampa in an outdoor game. Just have them
Yeah.
still both do that, and just give them each a chance. And like, I'm sure the first game would be electric. I'm sure the second game would be a bloodbath. Like that would be a
like
crazy
even
watch.
that. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm still very excited for Tampa, Boston, Panthers, Rangers again. That doesn't move me that much. I'm sure it'll still be a good game, but
Who knows? Maybe they'll meet
there's
in the
just better
playoffs
options that would have been.
beforehand and go after each other. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Rangers squeak in at the bottom of the wild card. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Panthers finish at the top of the division.
Maybe
Possible.
if that happens and they get some shit going on and Rempe just starts headshotting people, Kachuk starts it, and then it's just a brawl. All right, then I'd be more excited. Yeah, but as of right now,
It needs a
there's
promo
just better
package to hype you
options.
up a little. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to come up with like a Cena versus Rock hype package for this matchup for me to properly give a shit. Now Tampa versus Boston though, I'm very much looking forward to that one.
They better make good jerseys for that, man. Gasparilla that year is 1 day before the Stadium Series. It's on January 31st. Like, dude, those Gasparilla jerseys go crazy hard. I need to get one of those. Like, they've done them in the past.
They got to go that route, I think, for sure, then for it.
And so many people don't know about Gasparilla, which is too bad because they think it's just like a Tampa Bay Buccaneers collab, which is Gasparilla is why they're called the Bucks. It's like, I think that's the last name of a pirate in the Florida area a long time ago, and there's some sort of historical significance, but basically it just gives you a day where you get to have a pirate motif, which is objectively cool as fuck.
Yeah, but overall,
good stuff, and I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun. I'm seeing a lot of people online be like, I don't like the vibe of a winter classic being in sunny Florida, and it's like, bro, just
we're growing the game.
Just shut up.
Shut your mouth and let the game grow.
Right? Like, these are the same people that are like, hockey won't work in Arizona. Like, just because there's sun. Like, it
more than anything, when I
people
saw
care.
these, like, I obviously I wasn't super crazy about the Panthers Rangers, but I was just sitting there like, I'm just glad they're not shoving Toronto, Chicago, Vegas down our throats. I'm glad they're allowing some, like, Rangers obviously still kind of obvious. Boston,
yeah.
And Boston really hasn't got much the last couple of years, but like you're getting Florida and Tampa teams that don't get them. No, but I'm just glad we're getting away from the teams.
Chicago's been in so many. Like, all the memes when they announced it, people were like, "Oh, cool! It's gonna be Panthers versus Chicago and Lightning versus Chicago on a back-to-back." Like,
yeah. Like I'm just glad they're giving us at least something new in a sense, and it's not just the same teams getting shoved down our throats. So let's just be happy about that, and that the game is growing.
Yeah, I would have liked to see it, be against, instead of the Bruins and Rangers, I would have been fine with 2 new teams. Maybe go 2 Stanley Cup final matchups and go like Tampa versus the Stars and Vegas versus Florida. I think that could be fun, but I do get that it gets a lot of extra eyes on the product to bring in some original 6 teams, so it does make sense, and at least they didn't pick, Chicago or the ones that have been there for the most. But yeah, I think it's good, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm still looking forward to it, and hopefully we can get some excitement built around the Florida Rangers game specifically.
Yeah, I think all we have left is whatever you had prepared for the end of this episode. I had one other quick anecdote that. Take it or leave it, do what you will with this information. Maybe a little sketchy when the Avalanche come to town for some teams, but last night the LA Kings versus the Calgary Flames was postponed. It was a home game in LA due to the wildfires going on in California. The game had to be postponed. So the Flames were coming to town and wildfires stopped them from playing. Earlier in the season, you'll remember the Lightning Hurricanes game was postponed due to a hurricane. So yeah, if you got mountains nearby you and Colorado's coming to town, maybe book a hotel somewhere or something, because there's something weird going on.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, just a little.
that's just a little fun thing that I saw people were connecting the dots on. But
Yeah.
what do you got for us to end this episode here?
So we've been doing lots of trivia lately. And so I reached out to a friend and I said, "Hey, just any ideas you got for fun stuff to do on the pod? Whatever you can think of, just start giving me ideas, and we'll see if something sticks here." And he gave me a good idea, and I think this should work. I'm curious to see what you think about it.
Okay.
So what we're going to be doing is I've got 4 NHL players.
All right.
Now here's the kicker: 2 of them are real NHL players, and 2 of them are fake NHL players that I've created.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm going to give you descriptions and statistics for each of them.
Are you giving me
And
names as well, or is that?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I am getting names. Okay. Are
yeah,
these guys like? Are the real guys currently in the league, or are they like all time? Like,
all time. It could potentially be a current player, could be
okay.
an older player that's retired. And then so I'm just going to go through the 4 of them. We'll go through each player one by one. If you have any questions about them, we can talk about them. And then at the end, you're going to tell me which 2 you think are real and which 2 you think are the fakes, the fake players.
Okay. I love it. I absolutely love it.
So the first player we have on the list here is Fredrik Moden. He is a Swedish left-handed forward, or left winger, left-handed, drafted 64th overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 1994 NHL draft. He made his debut in the 96-97 season, playing for 3 seasons with the Leafs before being traded to the Tampa Bay Lightning in 1999. He spent the most productive part of his career helping the Lightning win their first Stanley Cup in franchise history, where he recorded 19 points in 23 games that year. He was then later traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets, where his career started to decline, bouncing from the LA Kings to the Atlanta Thrashers before retiring with the Calgary Flames in 2011.
Okay. Okay.
So that is Fredrik Moden.
I mean, so obviously you said he did play for the Lightning there, and I did recognize the name when you said it. So I do think he's real. Assuming that you're not going about this of like changing a couple of stats and then calling him fake. I believe that is real. That all sounds
So you're
like
currently thinking he is real. All right.
But we'll hear
Next
the
one
other.
we're going to move on to is Liam Flash, his nickname Flash O'Connor, a Canadian right winger who was drafted 48th overall in the 1993 NHL draft by his hometown Toronto Maple Leafs. He made his NHL debut in 1998, where he recorded 28 points. Known for his exceptional skating, he led the league in breakaway goals in the 2001 to 2002 season with 14. He continued on to play a total of 416 NHL games before fading away during the 2005 lockout season, where he announced his retirement. He is currently an amateur scout for the Ottawa Senators. That is Liam Flash O'Connor.
Liam the Flash O'Connor. Okay.
Next up, we have Finn Jensen, a Norwegian defenseman nicknamed Bulldog, was drafted 28th overall by the Nashville Predators in the 2002 NHL draft. He was a rugged, stay-at-home defenseman known for his incredible shot blocking abilities, where he ranked in the top 5 for shot blocks in his first 3 NHL seasons. Unfortunately, after taking a nasty hit resulting in a concussion, Jensen returned to Norway, where he played 3 seasons before officially retiring in 2013. His final career stats in the NHL were 512 games played, 11 goals, 35 assists, 1,140 shot blocks.
Damn.
That is Finn Jensen.
Jeez, I don't even know if that can be real. Over 2 shot blocks a game for
Average over
500
2 shot
games?
blocks a game.
That's crazy. But you don't
He's
hear about the guys who do all the shot blocking and don't score points, so it wouldn't surprise me too much if that one was real.
And the last one we have is Chris Butler. He's an American defenseman who was drafted 96 overall by the Buffalo Sabres in the 2005 NHL draft. Having early career success, posting 21 points in 59 games in his second season with the Sabres, before not long after being traded to the Calgary Flames as part of the massive Robin Regehr trade in 2011. He played 2 seasons with the Flames before going and signing with his hometown St. Louis Blues, where he played only a handful of games over 5 seasons before retiring in 2019, where he went on to join the Arizona Coyotes as a scout in 2021 before going to the Pittsburgh Penguins, where he currently serves as a player development coach. That's Chris Butler.
Okay.
So you have
All
Frederick Modin, Liam the Flash O'Connor, Finn Jensen, and Chris Butler are your 4.
Okay, so I am going to lock in Freddie Modin as real. I do think he's
You're
real.
locking Freddie Modin as real? All right.
Honestly, I don't know if you made this or you found this online, but all of these sound real-ish at the least. Like these were all really well done. I'm leaning towards Chris Butler being the other real player, but both the other two are also very plausible. Freddie Modin, off of name recognition, is really the only one I can glean too much off of. But I think I'm going to lock in Freddie Modin and Chris Butler are real, and Flash and Bulldog being fake.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Freddie Modin is real. He is real. You are correct with that. Beast for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
You said Liam the Flash O'Connor. You think he was a fake?
I think he was a fake.
You would be correct. He is fake. He is fake.
2 for
Finn
2.
Jensen, big Bulldog defenseman. You
This
thought he
could
was
be-
fake.
This could be real.
He was fake. Finn Jensen does
was.
not exist. And Chris Butler, you thought was real. He is, in fact, real. You got 100% on that. Well done.
He's done it.
The only thing is I had to use some AI for names because I could not think of plausible names for them.
Yeah. Bulldog, like, honestly, if you didn't say he like called him Bulldog, like if it was just Finn Jensen, I mean, now it's just a guy named Finn Jensen who blocks shots. That sounds real enough.
I just threw Bulldog in there just for fun. I was like, fuck
Yeah.
it, why not?
Honestly, it was pretty tough to tell between the other 3. Chris Butler sounds very slightly familiar, but I really don't know if that's just me trying to make an assumption.
Yeah.
Liam,
You might have heard of him, I think. I think at some
Yeah.
point you would have been like, oh yeah, Chris Butler.
Liam Flash O'Connor is a great name, and also it being Flash and then him like scoring breakaway goals and stuff like that kind of checks out. That makes sense, right? So
Yeah.
that was
I was
pretty
hoping
good.
I was hoping by getting some of the stats so absurd, they're like, fuck, maybe they are real. Like that's crazy.
Well, that's one of the main things was like, I think it was for Finn Jensen. You talked about him getting a concussion and then playing his last 3 years in Sweden or something, and I was like, I mean, fuck, are we going that in depth for the fake guy? Like that's pretty in depth. He had a injury, played in a lower league, and then eventually stopped playing. Like that.
He just went back home. He just went back to Norway to be with his family.
Yeah, no, good on Finn for that.
It's Bulldog.
It's the Bulldog, man.
It's the Bulldog. But you did go 2 for 2, so for getting the fakes and 2 for 2 for getting the reals. So I applaud you for that there.
4 for 4, por favor.
Exactly. But that will wrap up everything for this episode.
Good. I really like that.
I'm glad you enjoyed.
Segment.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Once again, as always, if you want to join in on any of the Hockey Talk conversations with us, you can do so by clicking down on any of the links in the description on every episode. It'll take you straight to our different socials. Give us a follow, come say hi, come talk hockey, and again, if you have any ideas for what you want to see in episodes, if you have any fun ideas for us, you can let us know. And honestly, we'll probably end up doing them because why not? We like to have little bits of fun here at the end of every episode. So anything you guys want to see or any ideas, you can always let us know. Brayden, as always, final thoughts.
I'm just gonna kind of echo those sentiments of like if there really is like anything you want to hear us talk about, like we have our talking points that we have in the Discord before we start each episode, and we use those to go off of. But like you saw with the you know I just randomly brought up the Bruins being on a losing streak, and then we talked about them for a while. We just go off on tangents and use those as guidelines to start talking about whatever for hockey. So like because we just want to get our opinions out there and hear what you guys think. So if you have anything in specific you want us to talk about, absolutely let us know on any of the platforms. We'll see it, and yeah, anytime it happens, it always strikes up a good conversation. So we love that engagement with you guys.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better myself. Once again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, we'll see you guys out on the ice next week.